Republican Party, they decided that running on the so-called accomplishments of Donald Trump really ain't gonna work. So they've said, we've got a bunch of angry mobs running around trying to take over America, and they're all paid protesters with money coming from George Soros. He is pretty much like the biggest boogeyman for the Republicans. But a lot of this also, frankly, are some anti-Semitic attacks on George Soros, who is, of course, Jewish. Now, what they're saying is very similar to what segregationists said during the civil rights movement when they said these angry mobs of black people are going to come out here agitating for change, and they were getting money from these Jewish folks. Here's what Reverend Dr. William J. Barber tweeted yesterday about Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, his claims of mobs attacking senators. Now, let's pull this up. McConnell's language isn't new. When Judge Frank Johnson ruled against George Wallace in 1965, opening the door for Selma to Montgomery March, Wallace called Johnson a hypocrite who prostitutes our law in favor of mob rule. Now, the GOP, of course, has become the party that is stoking racial and gender divisions, fear brown immigrants, black people, women who dare speak up, coming for your sons and husbands, and LGBTQ folks, all threatening white male patriarchy. Nothing so to go back to our panel here. And so, Malik, I want to start with you. And so when you hear McConnell talk about these angry mobs and paid protesters, I'm sorry, it's as if people who are progressive or who are liberal are not patriots, who simply believe in a just America. That was the Republicans surely were embracing the Tea Party when they were marching on Capitol Hill, when they were storming Affordable Care Act town halls.
Well, I'm glad you actually brought up the Tea Party, because if you remember, of course, they started wearing tea bags, so, around their heads, but then they migrated. And some of the things that the Tea Party did, I didn't necessarily agree with. I didn't agree when they showed up, of course, expressing their Second Amendment rights. I didn't agree when they showed up at Obama campaign events with their rifles. I didn't agree with that then. I equally don't agree.
The Republican Party did.
Well, yeah, sure. Some people in some. Some people in the party did, but I think it's disingenuous to say that everybody in the Republican Party supported everything that the Tea Party did, just like everyone.
No, hold up. First of all, I didn't say that. What I did say is that the Republican National Committee and those individuals who want to be in power had no problem at all with what Tea Party folks were doing, because what they felt is that what they were out there was driving up the poll numbers of people who were against the Affordable Care Act. They were fully embracing of those things. Yes or no?
Absolutely. And it's the same thing that we have now. It's the same thing that we have now going on the Democrat side. When you look at the endorsement.
But was that mob rule with the Tea Party?
Well, we didn't have, I don't recall the Tea Party actually showing up at events where Obama officials were. I don't recall the Tea Party actually going to commencements and booing secretaries of states. I don't recall the Tea Party going into restaurants, accosting people at restaurants. I don't recall them kicking them out of restaurants. These are things that are happening now, and I think it is fair. Of course, it's strategic. Both sides do it.
I do recall the Tea Party folks spitting on a civil rights legend like Congressman John Lewis and others as they were going into the U.S. Capitol. I recall that happening.
Yeah. So some members of the Tea Party may have done something like that, but I
just want to make sure that we're recalling that.
But you bring up John Lewis. I think it's also important to realize that if you're talking about rhetoric, even in I think it was when he was running against Obama, it was John Lewis who actually referred to who made the comment that. Who was that? McCain would actually take us back to the days of George Wallace standing in the schoolhouse door. Mitt Romney was a sexist. Everyone disliked Mitt Romney. He was the binder full of women. And these are attacks that Democrats actually ledge on Republicans during that time.
So Teresa?
I think it's something that happens all the time.
Malik, I get your point. But Teresa, here's the reality. The reality is if Republicans are supporting voter suppression efforts, that are denying black folks the right to vote, that are putting in place rules and procedures that do take us back to George Wallace, Yeah, it's a fair comparison. When you have the Supreme Court, a conservative Supreme Court, Teresa, that guts the Voting Rights Act and then says that Congress needs to update it, and the Republican Party is in control and refuses to even have hearings, even consider it. In fact, you have Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin. Republicans don't even want to sign on to his bill to fix the Voting Rights Act. So that sounds about right, Teresa.
Absolutely, it sounds about right. I think Democrats are in their right to act the way they are. This is modern age. You know, Tea Party, it was back in the day. Modern age, yes, there are going to be some new creative methods that are going to take place in order for people to voice their opinions and create the charge that's necessary for their voice to be heard. I think right now what we're seeing, yes, you know, we have our legislators actually now, for me, in a millennial sense, taking a stand, and they're telling people, look, when you see them, approach them, because it seems like the message is not getting through. When we knock on their doors or when we call their elected office from the Senate to the Congress, who's unavailable? The elected official. So then we get the staffer or the intern, and then, you know, you expect people to be in a solemn state. I don't think a solemn state is where we are. This is the state that not only the Democratic Party, because as we have seen in many rallies across the state with the Trump administration and so on, people are out of control on both sides. So again, it needs to be a balance of professionalism, but again, we're in different times.
But you know what, Shannon, here's the issue for me. We actually saw earlier this year where Republican members of Congress were scared to even hold town hall hearings. You saw people who were just, okay, I don't want to get attacked or have to answer any questions. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. You are elected to office by the people. The least you can do is actually hold a town hall of your constituents and have to answer their questions. And so people are complaining about folks who were, knocking on the Supreme Court door. Okay, you know what? Seriously, I don't think that was any big deal. Now, I'm not chasing somebody out of a damn restaurant, because that's just a waste of my time. That to me is utterly ridiculous. Now, if you choose not to serve somebody, okay, and then you're gonna suffer the consequences of losing a business. But the reality here is Mitch McConnell acts like he doesn't want any dissent whatsoever. Dissent is the basis for this country. It was founded on dissent.
That's true. I'm old enough to remember bad behavior and acting out on both sides. I don't care what party you belong to. There's a certain way you should be handling yourself and a certain way you should be acting, especially if the younger generation, the millennials and beyond, are looking to their, quote, elders for how you react and how you respond. So when I see the Democrats in this particular case acting a certain way and acting out, it's not cool. But by the same token, when I saw the different protests on the Republican side against President Obama, that wasn't cool either. If we want to get to the issues at hand, the things that our country needs to face, let's cut all the bull and the drama. Let's keep it to the issues.